What questions do you have for me at this time? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. I had a couple questions. Okay, so how was your life before you began to get on to be on the path of your spiritual journey? Versus, yeah.
How was my life before my spiritual journey versus now?
Mhm.
Um, I think that I can say it was really me focused on a lot of different 3D things. When I say that, I mean uh, get good grades in school, be at the top end, like my work environment, everything in its place, everything in its order.
Mhm.
And, I can say to some extent, I was also more worried about people and they're making sure that everybody was good, and when I taking care of everybody else and so many other things besides myself. So I think it was really putting so much energy out towards everything around me, but not actually putting that much energy into myself overall. Yes, physical things, but not giving myself enough rest and not giving myself enough time to myself and other stuff, not giving the things that I liked or loved attention. So I think I would say that my journey before my life before my spiritual journey, or the higher understanding of my spiritual journey, because everything is a spiritual journey. But before I stepped into the ascended understanding of that for myself, I think it was more um, outward based and more about uh, trying to make the world around me look a certain way or feel, even I can almost say feel perfect in some sense, versus really making sure that everything within me was also getting what it needed,
Mhm.
making sure my emotions were attended to, making sure I was just paying attention to myself and acknowledging everything that my inner self needed.
Okay. So basically, what you're saying is that you believe, or you understand now that you were a bit selfless on a like an unhealthy degree before you begin to understand that being selfish, there's a healthy amount of being selfish and making sure you're good, because if you're not good, you can't possibly be there for other people.
Yeah, selfishness. I definitely have learned and understood how much selfishness is a virtue in my journey. And I don't think that it's something that we teach enough in this world at this time to, everything in moderation, everything in balance. But we always say give to the end of yourself. And we don't necessarily talk about how, toxic that can be to give to your very last drop and not take care of you, and how also that might speak of how much you don't care about yourself. When I realized I had a defining moment, in my journey where I realized, man, I really don't care about myself. That's what this says. And I felt really upset and just really bad when I thought about, man, I really, really have not cared about me. And how can you expect anybody else to care about you when you don't care about you? You're setting a precedent. You're painting a picture of how, what it may be okay for people to do certain things to you if you aren't taking care of yourself or giving to yourself. How can you expect anybody else to give to you?
Mm. I get that, and it's funny you say that because I think one of the reasons I asked you that is because I used to think of myself being selfless until I realized that, I mean, everything is like a lot of things are for like personal gain. Like when I give to the homeless person and whatnot, and everybody, or like when I hold a door open for an old lady or stuff like that, or help an old man out with something. It's a nice thing to do, but we do it for the feel good. So like I used to realize like, oh, I'm so nice, all that other stuff. I realized I was doing it to make myself feel better. Maybe that was because I didn't think I did enough, or damn, I'm not a good enough person. But it was still selfish at the end of the day and whatnot. The selfishness doesn't have to be inherently bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that when you understand it the way you just said it, anything can be an addiction, like that feel good understanding. You're doing it to feel good. People may do drink or smoke or whatever the case may be to feel good. And I don't think that sometimes we see things as, oh, it looks good, or it doesn't look, like it's harming you. So it's not necessarily quote unquote bad, but that's not necessarily the case. It's about balance again. But yeah, that feel good understanding, a lot of times it is good to ask yourself, why are you giving? What is the purpose? What's the energy behind it? Are you doing this because maybe you feel like something wasn't given to you? Because if that's the case, you may need to just go and heal whatever understanding you have within yourself that says, hey, I never felt like enough was given to me, so I'm going to give to everybody. That doesn't heal the wound. You're still waiting for somebody to reflect that back at you. You're waiting for somebody to give you back the understanding that you never felt. And a lot of times, people don't see it as that or understand it as that.
Mm. I understand. Oh, okay, and you said something about addiction like that. That's the feel good addiction. My second question for you is, when it comes to being spiritual, everybody's different on the spiritual journey. So an addiction and like I think I read something to where it's like smoking and drinking and whatnot. A lot of people look at that as being bad, and they look at that as being bad because it's like the health, all the other stuff. But some people actually see that as a stimulant of being themselves more than just like I need this to survive and all other stuff, or they're addicted to it. They just think, oh, hey, listen, this is how I be me.
Mm-hmm.
So some drugs, even though a lot of people view it as bad, I don't think like we get too much on the judging side of, oh, that's not healthy. Some people really just do it because like we all have to go at some point. So why live my life listening to what other people deem as healthy for me and whatnot.
I understand what you're saying, though. It's like some people living they do it out of yes, it may make them feel comfort, comfort, or make them feel good in some sense. But also, even in the way you said it, there's a sense of rebelliousness to it. And hey, you have to live your life your own way at the end of the day. And I don't think there's anybody. It just made me think about a friend of mine who used to always, forever be quitting smoking. And whenever she would be in the process of quit, she'd be angry. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm not saying that I want you to smoke. I don't think smoking is good for you, but I want you to stop quitting smoking. And it's not to say I want her to smoke cigarettes. It's not a good thing for you. It's not healthy for you. But at the same time, the temperament, the understanding, the energy, that's hard. That may be hard to deal with. And she knew that about herself, which is why she even said, like I'm in a better temperament when I smoke versus when I don't.
So do you think that the crutch of smoking or drinking just became part of them to what the mind feel like it needs it. Like at that point, there's no coming back from that. And the reason I say that is only because like spiritual, like being spiritual and going on your spiritual journey and whatnot. Do addictions halt or do addictions sometimes help? Does it matter? Does it matter? Like
So everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. And my thing is that everything is spiritual, but even spirituality has a ghetto. If everything is spiritual, understand that. It's about the vibration of the energy. There's nothing that isn't spiritual. So when you understand that, there are certain things that are quote unquote spiritual that may not be the vibration of energy you want to exist in. If you want to move toward everything that you want for yourself and you feel like you're wanting to move towards something that is more successful or whatever the case may be, is this something that's stopping you from moving toward that success? That's a question that you should ask yourself. Everything is spiritual. Anything and everything is considered a spiritual practice. How spirit has taught that to me. Everything you do, when you breathe, when you blink, when you walk, everything is a spiritual practice. Every part of you that exists is spiritual. So with that being the case, whatever you do is spiritual. It's about understanding where you want to go for yourself and whether or not this understanding of spiritual energy is the right way to get there. or is it a blockage to you getting there? You have to understand what your path is or where you're wanting to go. Now, if you aren't wanting to make any changes or you're not really trying to change your environment in any big way, then I guess it wouldn't really matter, you know? But if you're trying to do certain things, let's say, for instance, you want to be a great singer. Smoking cigarettes or, smoking anything, really, that's not going to be a good look if you're wanting to get really great at the practice of singing, and or even in a sense of playing an instrument like a blowing a horn or, playing a saxophone or something like that. That's not a good look if you want to do those things because your lungs have to be able to do what? Have their full capacity, right? So it's all about the understanding. It really is all about what you're trying to do and where you're trying to head for yourself.
Okay. Let me see. Regrets. So, do you view regrets as you did in the past? And okay, the question off that. What is your opinion on how people should view regrets?
My opinion on how people should see regrets or view regrets? I don't, there's nothing that I feel really that I regret in my life at this time. As a matter of fact, I'm happy for the things that, even if it has not turned out in the way I wanted it to, I'm happy for my willingness to do whatever I felt called to do and my soul understanding, and I can appreciate that I did it. I can't say at this time that I have regrets because I really have done my best to just follow my soul. Well, I mean, I don't take that back because even in instances where, I feel like maybe I might have made my life a little bit harder on myself, I learned a lot of lessons in them. So maybe before I could have beat myself up about it and been like, man, if only I hadn't done this, I hadn't wasted that much time on this, whatever the case may be. I don't feel like that now. I think that a lot of times, sometimes people, depending on what it is, people can feel regret about time wasted or whatever the case may be because they feel like, oh, maybe they're getting older or they don't have, much time left or whatever the case may be. But I don't really think about that under, like a aging or, even in the sense of like, oh, I've got a few years left or how many years do I have left and I wasted all this time on that. I just, accept that for whatever reason, I needed to go through that experience to grow, and maybe there's something that experience will give me as I move forward in whatever life I have left at this time. But yeah, I don't think that there's anything that I regret at this time. When I think on it, there isn't anything. And I have thought about it before. Do I regret anything? And I think before my spiritual journey or in the heightened understanding of my spiritual journey, there were things that I regretted, but not so heavily. Even then, I've never really been big on regrets.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything that you regret?
If you would have asked me that like maybe 3 years ago, it could have been some. But I just think regretting something is too extreme. Mm-hmm. I'm displeased with outcomes. Mm. But regretting something is too extreme because that means I would, if I had a time machine, I would go back.
Yeah.
And change something. I mean, and if that was the case, I would probably regret not being born in time enough to invest in Google. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But other like in my life, no, I don't regret anything. I'm displeased with outcomes.
Okay.
And then I'll keep it and I'll move along. But other than that, I would never go back and change anything.
Agreed. I feel that understanding deeply. So yeah, but I like that. I'm displeased with outcomes because it doesn't feel as deep, It feels like,
it feels like
that's a
kind of like a commoner feeling. It's like a lover's quarrel. Like it's just common. It's common. It's not I'm displeased. But like regretting something is kind of like trying to get what is that vengeance, like vengeance and whatnot. No, it's like no, I'm good. But yeah, I'm just displeased because it goes away. It does go away. It might come back. It might come back here and there from time to time, but it goes away.
Hey, you guys. I hope you're enjoying this one-on-one session. If you would like to receive a session of your own or have a question you would like to ask, please check out the links in this video's description to sign up for a free one-on-one or submit your question.
So it's funny I'm about to ask this question because we're like, technically speaking, we're on a subset. Like you're on a subset. Like you're going to take this video and you're going to post it onto social media. What are your thoughts on social media
as a whole?
now, as a whole? But now social media is a different thing from what it used to be back when it was just starting out. Like I was just talking to somebody about that earlier, and basically it's talking about how people think like the world is getting worse, but people only think that is because we're experiencing everything in the blink of an eye. Like the way information moves now, and the way people make mistakes. I think one of my favorite artists is Childish Gambino said it like we see our mistakes in like 0.2 seconds, and we can't go back from it now because it's out there and they eat those forever. So, do you think life was better before, or it was better off before social media, or is it worse? Is it worse now?
I don't. So you say do you think it's worse now than before social media? For me, it isn't. I don't think it is. I think that, it depends on where you are in your own emotional journey with yourself. Like, you could say anything about me and I would be unbothered, It doesn't, whatever you have to say, it doesn't stop me from paying my bills. It don't stop me from being able to eat and things that I can, look at what you say and then continue on with my life. But I think that it really just speaks to where somebody might be as far as their own anxieties and things of that nature. Social media itself, I think that it's a great tool, but everything has a downside. Just as there's a shadow, there's always, just as there's a light side understanding, there's always a shadow side too. I think that, again, it's a good tool for growth. It's a good tool for expansion and healing our world, or it could be used that way. It's all just about us getting there. I think that even though technology seems to be have been around for a few decades now, or like not technology, but internet has been around for a few decades now. I still think that it's in a baby phase. I think it's in a playground, a Play-Doh, a sandbox phase still, and we're still working to grow out of that for it to be even more of a help tool than anything else. Right now, we're still in that playground phase, and it's grown so exponentially over the last couple of decades that that's a lot. That's a lot to play with. That's a lot to catch up with. But yeah, I think that I don't know if I would say. Some people might say it was better, but like I've grown up in a generation of people before social media. Like really, I was of an age to really understand life before it, and part of my childhood is not on. It's not on any social media platform or anything like that. I come from a time of the Polaroids and everything else, and so that phase of it, the social media understanding was, hey, everybody at church know your business and all the rest of your family. We have a very big family, so like all the rest of your family knows your business and stuff like that, and you can feel that same embarrassment or that same shame or that same anxiety and stress in relation to that smaller community around you, knowing, so I don't think that, it's almost like being when you are hot, right? If you're super, super hot, it's really, really hot. You can take off only so much clothes and you're still going to be hot, So the same thing with anxiety or the stresses of social media. In the setting that I spoke about before social media, where you have embarrassment or anxieties and stressors, it's going to get to a certain degree. It's going to get to a certain height, and you're not going to be able to, go any higher than that height of anxiety. I think you can reach that height of anxiety or stress with social media in the same way, and it's not any different. I don't think that it's better or worse. I think that it seems like it is in some sense. and maybe it has less rules. They're still working to build rules around it for certain things like that, where it's where whether it be about bullying or things you can't do or say, and the etiquette pertaining to being on social media. Yeah, but I don't think that it's really any better or worse. I think it's just the technology of the time.
Okay. And yeah, so the reason I asked you about social media as well is because before you said everything is spiritual. Like,
Mhm.
my question was, and maybe it's still relevant, but do you think social media disrupts our spiritual selves? Because it kind of, even though it's good, it does still kind of play a part into some person's somebody's insecurities and what they fall short of because of what they're seeing on social media, or the fears of being their true selves because of what they see on social media. And you said you wouldn't care if someone was saying anything about you, and that's because I do. And maybe you might disagree, but I do think the anxiety becomes a bigger in this day and age. The larger your social your what's it called, your blueprint, your footprint of how many people know you on social media. Because the more people know you, that's the more people that get to see you when you fall. Just as they see you when you're up and you rise as well. So that's what I was going to ask. Do you think social media nowadays does disrupt people's spiritualness? Like they're I guess I don't know how to explain it, but it's like how's it this their person that, like, I'm trying to get to it, but basically, do you think social media disrupts people's spirituality and keeps them from being themselves, or just fostering hatred into the world? Or not?
I mean, I think anything can be a spiritual or emotional disruptor for you. I mean, it's social media that it can be, but at the same time, you said foster hatred. I think anything can do that too. You know, at the end of the day, I think that the thing about growing yourself emotionally is about stepping into more and more awareness, of how something makes you feel, and not just watching it, not just intaking it. There are certain times where I'll listen to music and I'm like, I got to turn this off because I don't like this, the way this is making me feel, or I don't like the language of it, or whatever the case may be.
Maybe it's not the mood. Maybe it's not the mood for right now. Like, I'd be listening to some rap, and I'm like, damn, I feel like listening to some Imagine Dragons right now. Vice versa. Like, yeah, maybe that's what I would like. Maybe the mood, like your mood, does change with some things as well.
Yeah.
How you feel like feeling. It's not about how you're feeling, but how you like. I don't want to feel, and I don't want to feel amped up right now. I just want to be soothed right now. So
Yeah. So, I mean, that I think that goes back to personal responsibility, taking care of yourself, putting you first. And I think that the biggest understanding, or the biggest thing here in all of that, is just being aware. A lot of people learning to take more of an active role in their life and not just consuming things, you know? But I mean, that's just like saying consumption of social media. That could go to the same thing as consumption of food, or consumption of, drinks of whatever kind.
too
So,
much of anything is bad.
yeah, like it's just about, really living or walking your life in awareness. And that, I do believe, is what spiritual ascension itself is about. Spiritual growth, or stepping into the higher vibrations of energy itself, is about you waking up and walking an aware life. How does this make me feel? Like in every way, even if it's just you can, something small, like the seat that you're sitting in, is this comfortable enough for me in every way? The shoes that I wear, are they comfortable enough for my feet? And everything else is about walking an aware life. And so when it comes to social media, being aware and not just consuming this because it's popular and things of that nature. And I don't know, I think that, I don't think that it's just about, that you have millions of people following you, that this understanding can make it, make you more anxious. I think it depends on the person. I think that, you could have 400, or like 300, maybe even just 20 followers.
Oh,
And
why do you have your following at that point?
yeah,
Why would you have your following?
yeah.
Okay, that's it.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't. Well, for me, in that understanding, I don't think that it matters how many people you have following you. If you're still, dealing with anxiety, one person is enough possibly to make you anxious, depending on the person. One person or two people could be too much if you're worried about their opinions and feelings. Yeah, but it really is just about you growing or working to grow yourself in a way that says that shakes off anybody else's opinions from you.
Okay. I understand that. Okay. So let me see. The next question is going to be, let me see. On beginning your spiritual ascension, yeah, that's what you call it, and whatnot. I was going to ask you, what was your labor of love? Because I know you wrote a book a long time ago and whatnot, and you're really into reading and whatnot and all of this. So, what is your labor? Has your labor of love changed? Is it still going? Have you finished it? Have you found it? Um, versus back then, like the old Sam versus the new Sam.
I would
And
say,
if, oh, I apologize. And if you think you have, if you think you finished it, you have one already. Did it change, and are you working on something else?
well, you said my labor of love at this time. My labor of love is really myself at this time. When before it wasn't necessarily that, you know. I don't, I don't think in the past I was so focused on, you know, again, the things that were what I loved or what was all best for me. Yes, to some extent, maybe health wise, I was, or you know, definitely health wise and certain things to the nature. But I wasn't focused so much on like all the things that I like to do or like just kind of like healing what I needed to heal within myself. So I think my labor of love at this point is to make sure that I've healed or balanced out what I need to balance out within myself. You know, it's less. It's not to say I don't do different activities or things outside of myself that are fun, but I think it's more or less about the making sure me, the inner me is taken care of in a lot of ways. And I think that the more that I've done that, the more I've discovered other parts of me that I wanted to step into and get back into. So, for instance, I can say that for a long time, I really stepped away from music heavily. And that's something that I'm getting back into. But it's also that I uncovered and healed certain things within myself that revealed this understanding to me. And even in a sense of working to build anything in related to fashion or whatever the case may be, that's another thing that I'm doing in a more bigger scale in some sense, and that came about because I worked to heal and release certain things within myself that showcase that, hey, I would like to possibly step into building some business understanding in relation to fashion and everything else. But I never would have discovered those things if I had not taken the time to focus on healing the inner me so she could show me those things. She couldn't show me those things when she was so in distress or in a sense of separation from me. It took me being less separated from myself and more within myself, more pulled back into a oneness with my soul self for me to be able to see those other things that I want to step into.
I understand. Okay. So another caveat off that question as well is maybe your answer is about to be you can't tell me how to, but what's the feeling of when you find out what you want to be doing in this life that we have, and also how does spirituality, I don't know if it's really different for religion, but how does that tie into your religious beliefs?
Okay, so the first part of that question, can I get that again?
Basically, it's like kind of two questions. One is like, how do you know that you found out what you want to be doing in this life? Do you just know? Is it just something like once you know that you wake up and you just can't stop thinking about that thing, you want to make sure that it gets done, and it's something that'll never be done, and that's why it's a labor of love. But like, how do you know? How do you know? How would you tell somebody that? Okay, that's how you know when it's hit. Like you found out what you're supposed to be doing in this life.
I don't attach myself. There was a point in time where I felt more attached to things. Even when I felt, as far as like writing or reading and things, I felt more attached to them. And I was like, this is me. These are the things that are me.
It's your identity. Okay, so you don't feel like that anymore.
So I feel connected to doing certain things, but at the same time, if it's not so much that I have to do them, it's not so much that I'm wanting anything specific to come to fruition. Yes, I want to move forward and have success, but also I'm really just trusting the process of what I hear my creator or my soul understanding speak to me. I'm moving in a way that my soul, it tells me it will be the most emotionally fulfilling and the most beneficial for me. And maybe sometimes actually it doesn't always feel so. Sometimes maybe it feels irritating or it feels grueling, but I'm trusting my soul is telling me to do this for a purpose. So it's not all just about this feels good to me or this feels right. What feels right is what my soul is telling me, and I'm trusting that and I'm following that. And that's the truth of it. I'm listening to, the voice of my creator within me. And that understanding is guiding me. And I'm trusting that. And it doesn't always guide me in ways that I feel like, man, I want to go this. No, quite often, actually, quite often, it's in a way that I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know about this. I don't necessarily think I want to do this or go this way. But I hear it saying, trust me. And all the thing that I feel the most devoted to is the trust of my creator, the trust of what my soul understanding, that is the connection to my creator, tells me to do. And as far, it's funny because you said religion itself, how does it, you were asking, is religion any different from spirituality?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an interesting question. Again, everything is spiritual. I think that religion is a form of spirituality, and it has, depending on, where you take it, it has certain vibrations and understandings. I think that at some points, maybe not now, there may have been a point when I would have thought of myself as being a Taoist, but that is not something that, a Buddhist, that's not something that I see myself in now. There is a form of religion, I guess you could say, that is called being an ascended master. And that is the following that I kind of like connect with the most. And what an ascended master is basically someone who follows truth above any religion. The truth itself, and that's the truth I follow. I follow the truth within myself above any religion. And yeah, that's what I do in that sense. I don't think that there's anything wrong with religion. I think that it's for some people, and I think that as you grow, you may step out of that. Especially I grew up in Christianity, and as I grew and walked through my life, I followed just the truth of what felt right in my soul, and it had me, or kind of like had me shift away from that understanding. That doesn't mean I think that Christianity is bad. I think there are parts of it, just like anything, that resonate with me, and I take what resonates and I leave what doesn't.
And I'm glad you talked about that and whatnot. Because you said grew up in Christianity. We grew up in Christianity. My thing is, though, I think at a certain age, maybe at your age, you kind of realize that it wasn't for you. I just know for a fact, me and my brother, like, I remember us having a conversation about that when we were kids, and we were like, we just decided watching TV. It was like, yeah, I don't believe in God, and we agreed. We agreed at the same time. Like, yeah, I don't either. And maybe that started from back when we used to have to go after Sunday school. We never went upstairs. We had to always used to get dragged upstairs. And if it was something that truly spoke to us, we would have been happy to go upstairs. Mm-hmm. But from a young age, just never really connected with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that is wrong. I believe in people being agnostic, meaning that you never truly know until you die, until you ascend and leave this body and go to wherever else that apparently I need a suit and tie for. Maybe it's a job interview after this. I don't know. It's a job interview waiting on me after this, and that's why I need a suit and tie. But I just never thought that I connected with that spiritually. Because you did say religion it could be a different it's a different form of spirituality and the vibrations and whatnot. It just never spoke to me, and that's why I wanted to ask you that question about religion versus spirituality. But I mean, I can agree that like I'm agreeing to what you just told me, basically about it being one and the same.
Mm.
It being one and the same is just about what you portray yourself to be and what do you think is true to you.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I think we all have a right to walk our own journey, however we choose to, whatever the case may be. And I think that however the universe is meant to speak to us, it will, you know. And I don't think we have a right to try to force any specific understanding of that on anybody.
I was just about to ask you that. Yeah. Well, what's your opinion on people thinking that it is their journey, or it is their calling to force people, or not even to force, or to shove beliefs down other people's throats that don't agree with them?
I think it's really what I was just saying, to be honest. Like, I don't think we have a right to force anybody into any understanding. I think that it should be their own choice, at the end of the day. And at the same time, I can't tell, just like I can't tell anybody that they shouldn't do something or they should move towards this religion, or I don't feel like it's my right to tell somebody they should move in the way that I move. At the same time, I don't feel it's my right to tell anybody not to do that if that's what they feel called to do. I don't know what their purpose or what their calling is. I just know for me, overall, I don't feel that you should move or try to push anybody towards anything specifically. I believe in free choice in that sense. I believe in the free will understanding. If you want to move toward this religion, okay. And I don't think that it makes you a bad person or whatever the case may be if you don't want to, or, so yeah, like I just really think that it's about you wanting to listen to what yourself wants for you overall. And I think we do have a problem a lot of times in this world where we are more worried about humanity as a whole is more worried about outside validation over inner validation. A lot of times they're afraid to listen to themselves, even though honestly, I feel like the universe gives the certain messages to you, just to you. And it's only for you. It's not going to give it to anybody outside of you. And it's waiting for you to be ready to hear and listen and believe in you so that it can give you those messages and to guide you toward the best life for yourself. But that can be really hard for people. It can be really hard. So, and that's at the same token, they feel that they feel better being connected with this group understanding in relation to religion or whatever the case may be, then it's okay. It's not. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with it either way. If that's what helps you get through your day, that's what helps you get balance. My real issue or my real worry for it is when it becomes something volatile or becomes something. It's about violence or it's about causing harm to others.
Okay, I understand. And I would say my last question. Okay, so what does Sam want to accomplish before she leaves? Like, because you did say, I remember you did say you really only worried about, you don't really connect yourself with any I say this, you don't prescribe to the things that you once did. You're like, this is me, this is what I want to accomplish, but it has to be something that you just want to make sure that you do. Whether it's just being yourself to the very end, maybe that's it. But is that the only thing that right now you want to accomplish before you go? Just making sure you're yourself, you're authentic to the 100%.
So I think that before I began to walk this more higher understanding of my journey, I was accomplishing things. You get what I mean? When I say that, I mean like I was, let me get this certification, or let me be recognized in this work understanding for this, or let me be the top of the class, or whatever the case may be. Right now in my life, I'm not trying to accomplish anything. I'm just existing. I'm just allowing. I'm just trusting energy to lead me. However it wants me to go. And maybe I hear spirits say certain things are going to come to pass from the actions that I'm taking. But it's not me doing this in the sense of like, oh, this must come to pass, or I really, really want to accomplish this. No, I'm trusting that my creator says that there's a reason and a purpose that it wants me to move this way. And whatever that case may be, I will be its vessel in that understanding. That's simply it. I am just being willing to be my creator's vessel in the purest way that I can. That's it. It's not about, for me, it's not about any state or set or finish line to get to this end understanding of anything. I remember when I really first began my more ascended journey, and I heard Spirit say to me, are you willing to trust me? Are you willing to, be, really, it said, like, be my tool in a sense, be my vessel in that understanding. And I was like, of course, yeah. I hear my creator talking to me. I'm going to be willing to move how it wants me to move. Yes, there's no question. You created me. And in that understanding, having felt it speak to me in that way, that's how I'm living my life. And it's not always easy. I've had to release a lot of ego understandings to do that. I have gone through phases of anger, phases of sadness, phases of fear, anxiety, all of that stuff. Release so much to be in this energy. But, I'm better for it. It's promised me that it didn't promise me an easy understanding of this. It promised me that I would move toward better and be in a better state for myself overall if I would be willing to walk or, walk the journey it told me to walk. If I would be willing to be its vessel in that way. And so that's what I'm going to do. Be the vessel that my creator has, given me, offered me an opportunity to be. And yeah. So yeah, there's no set understanding or anything that I'm like, oh, I must accomplish this. Maybe there are things that Spirit has told me that they will come to pass if I continue to walk this journey. And maybe it says that those things could be a good understanding for the world around me. And I'm okay with that. But at the same time, I'm also fine if those things don't come to fruition either, because it's taught me to be okay with them not coming to fruition. Is there something specifically that you're wanting to accomplish in your life at this time?
I would say, while I don't necessarily, I understand and I don't disagree with it, because it has allowed me to kind of look at certain things that I attached my existence with, like being a writer. I don't know if I told you, like, you're one of the reasons that I wanted to become, fell in love with writing. One reason then it became movies, and like I'm like, damn, movies is like amazing. Like I could create worlds, like with a pen and a piece of paper. That's my favorite like motto. With a pen and a piece of paper, like I become a god. Like I create things. I can destroy armies. I can build armies. Like I can build cities and whatnot, and make characters, kill them off, bring them back to life. But I always thought, like, that's me. Like, I want to be a creator. Like everybody has some type of art that they're in love with. I just think it's something a bit different about writing. Saying words. Like the first thing when we come out screaming. Those are words. So onomatopoeia, but it's still a sounds and meaning to it. So I do still think my calling. I used to think it was to be a dancer. I love both kind of equally, but I do see what you're saying now. Is at the end of the day, after this conversation, I don't think I would. I don't know. I want to tie my whole existence to something I love doing, but partially I do. Partially I do. You know what I'm saying, but at the end of the day, when I leave, I just want to make sure everybody knows I was a good person. I did my best. I was a law-abiding citizen. You know what I'm saying. But other than that, though, like I think you helped me. That's one thing that really resonated with me with this conversation. If not anything else.